Hello.
Mine a little loud. Testing, 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 testing.
Check yours. Yours good?
Hello. Hello. Testing. Yep. I like that.
Mucus.
Yeah. 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 You want to silence me and cancel me?
Y'all got me?
Yeah.
You cue me in.
You might cancel yourself.
Are they sending questions in to you? Gonna do it on screen? Okay. Well, you are.
See, the thing that I
Just
have
let
is-
me know. Okay.
Let me get a little bit more lows, little less top.
Heart Mini ain't no sound, man.
The way that my nasal passages are set up, I need a little bit more of this.
He's what you call a lever puller.
I cannot
he's
with
a
this
lever
dude.
puller?
Oh, that,
I
that's a lever
cannot.
puller.
Yeah, so. Okay, yeah, that's a little, yeah, I like it.
So you are the.
I think we're on.
We're live. All right.
Okay.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Shop Talk Part 2. I am Talmadge Thomas, the senior pastor of the city of Zion, the Mount Zion Church, in the wonderful city of Toledo, and we are back. We welcome those of you that are online as well as our in-person audience. They got to make some noise. There you go.
Yeah.
And we're excited about them, and they're going to wake that baby up, and it's going to be all over. But nevertheless, we want you to like and share with somebody. It's really going to be good. Before I let my guests introduce themselves, we know that there were a few more gentlemen, and yet we know how schedules work. But I promise you, these two right here, they're going to make up for the other three that are not here. Yeah. I promise you. So listen, get you a good snack or something, and for the next 75 minutes, we're going to really get into some great conversation. But listen, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. It's a live audience as well as online. You can send in some questions. The information is on the screen, and please do, and we'll do our best to get to them, because primarily we're going to begin our conversation. We know that this is a critical time in the world, critical time in our community. In November, we're going to be voting for things that are going to, I believe, impact at least 2 generations from now. So if you have not registered, please, ma'am, please, sir, do so. If you have not checked your registration, please, ma'am, please, sir, do so. And if you don't even believe in voting, do so anyway, because I do believe that you really can't say anything if you're not going to participate in the process that we have. Yes, it has some flaws and fractures, but listen, you can't change anything from outside of it. You've got to change it from within. So I believe that this is probably one of the most critical times in our life, particularly in the African-American community. And it is sad to say that only 6% of the African-American community voted in the last election cycle. And that is just absolutely horrible. It is important that we, even though Barack Obama is not on the ticket, ladies and gentlemen, it is not about the personality, it's about the principle.
Yeah, right.
And the principle is we have the right to vote because people sacrifice so that we would have the right. And we don't have the right now to act as if what they sacrificed doesn't matter. We're standing on the shoulders of people who bled and died and marched so that we would have the right to vote. And so with all that we've seen with Candace Owens and Kanye West wearing the White Lives Matter shirts and what have you, this, that, and the other, listen, we need to make sure our voices are heard. Am I talking good, live audience? Y'all make some noise in the room. There you go. Well, I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves. I know them, and you know this is part 2. And we had a blast in part 1. And I promise you it's going to be gooder and gooder. I know. I've been to school. I know that's not good English. But nevertheless, it's my show. I can say it the way I want to say it. All right. So to my far left, my brother,
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Michael T. Johnson II. Yeah.
He got his own fan club tonight.
Always. Party of two, my wife and my daughter. But so happy to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Yes.
And to be able to come back a second time must have been pretty much letting me know that the first one was good. So I'm happy to be back again and be on this panel.
All right. Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jairus Williamson, owner of Big Man Holland. Hashtag doggone. I just appreciate Bishop bringing me back and, able to, continue the conversations.
Yes.
This is definitely needed, especially in this time. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, come on, make some noise again. Listen, our online audience, our on-campus audience, listen, we're going to dive right in. I asked the gentlemen how they wanted to begin this part two. And one of the things that both of them said, I don't believe without soliciting or communicating with each other, was community. And one of the things we started or that we want to start talking about tonight is, what does that mean in the black community? Do we have, as African-American men, a sense of community, and what does that mean? And I really want to dive deep into this because our communities have different conversations than other communities. We were talking earlier today about just the conversations that other communities have with their children about values that relates to houses and things of that nature. And to us, that conversation is very different. So if I say, because of the rate hike and what have you, you can only afford a $350,000 or $375,000 house or loan, that probably is not the worst news you probably would receive, right? Whereas in other communities, that would be like, oh no, the world is coming to an end. So in that context, with that as just a launching point, Mike, if you would, weigh in on anything community right now.
Yeah, I think that one thing, we're not even, most of the time, younger black males are not even educated on what community actually even means. I think a lot of young men think that community means their neighborhood.
Okay.
So it's usually sometimes more or less of, whether it's through gangs, it's more of a sense of neighborhood more than there is a sense of community. You can have black men that can murder and fight people of their same community because the fact of the matter, they're not from the same neighborhood. And so I think that creates a lot of division within our community that ends up hurting with the way that we're able to utilize each other to make money or to find careers that work for us or networking. And so that would be one of my points with that. I think that we're losing a sense of our community because of things like that. We're dividing our community into blocks of our neighborhoods. So
in so many words, and I'm going to push you here, territory that you may not pay taxes on. So how can you claim it if you're not paying taxes on it?
That's a good one. I think, I think that usually our generation don't care about stuff like that. They don't care about taxes. It's, I was raised up on this block. I played football in the streets. I played scramble. I've hooped in the streets. They take a level of ownership not through tax dollars, but just through the equity that they feel like they have invested into the block.
Equity.
Yeah, sweat equity. Yeah, okay. Being a neighborhood watch or a lookout or even a terror. So.
And I'm gonna press you again. Can you understand though how difficult it is for other communities to understand that territory or that affinity to that territory when really you're not engaging in the financial aspect of that neighborhood, because that neighborhood has to have streets, it has to have lights, it has to have a whole lot of things that really our tax dollars have to go to to provide safety and what have you. Because I think it's important that even if we're not educated on that, and I'm sure there's some people online who could weigh in, we need to be educated on it. Because particularly with this next voting cycle, there are in our city, I believe, 10 or 11 issues that are bundled together, and it's a yes or no vote. So it's important that we understand that while we grew up on it and have sweat equity in it, it's still important to know that there are federal as well as city dollars that are going to be allocated to or not based upon our knowledge as well as our participation in the voting process. So, Jairus, take it away.
I would like to say this to counter.
Here we go, y'all.
When we talking about community, one of the things that you brought up was taxes and, taking care of our community, the streets, services and stuff like that. But another thing I would like to say is business also.
Okay.
Because one of the major things about our community is we have, where you want to say community or neighborhoods, we claim this stuff, but at the end of the day, who's making money off of us? Everybody doggone else. Like, you go to the corner store, who owns that? Not us. Hair store, who owns that? Not us. Even restaurants, they learn how to cook chicken. Now, let's not play around. They know exactly what we like. They'll open up a shoe store, hair store, chicken spot, corner store, drink alcohol. I mean, they literally look at what we doggone like. And it's like, we're not even capitalizing on that. And my thing is, this is really a mindset thing to me, because it's a messed up mindset for you to sit up here. It's hard for us to sit up here and, talk about how we claim this and claim that. When I look around the same neighborhoods that these people are claiming, what do I doggone see? I see trash everywhere. I see abandoned houses. I see nothing but poverty. And, some of our places is so doggone dirty, you can't even drive down the street. Walk on the sidewalk. There's no pride. There's really no pride and no true ownership, because if you truly care about something, how are you going to expect anybody else to respect you when you don't even respect your own stuff? Like, if you go to somebody's doggone house and you see that their house is doggone dirty, like, how can you ask that person to take off their shoes and you just look around like, this place is a mess?
Yeah.
But then you want the respect from everybody else.
So let me ask you this, Bishop. What is the first building block to building community?
Family. Clearly. I believe our sense of connection to community starts with the home, starts with the family. Now, I grew up primarily in a single-parent home.
Yeah.
Now, my mother and father separated when I was 9 years old. We moved from Wichita to Durham, North Carolina, and I never lived with my parents at the same time from 9 years old. However, I never lost the love of either of my parents. And from that unit, my mother raised 3 boys on a teacher's aide salary and government assistance. And I'm saying this to say, even though my parents, my grandparents were college graduates, my mother, even as a single parent in Durham, North Carolina, Julian Bond was speaking at the University of Chapel Hill. She put 3 boys in the back of that Mustang convertible. There it is.
All right.
That Mustang convertible, that 1972 Mustang convertible, drove 12 miles and made us sit in a lecture that Julian Bond was giving. I can't remember what Julian Bond was talking about, but I know Julian Bond was talking.
Yeah.
But my point is, she made sure that we were cultured and had a sense of history and connection, where our people came from, the lessons as to why we could not do certain things historically. And being from Yonkers, people think that segregation and racism was not up north. It was probably even worse there than someplace in the South. And so I'm saying all of that with what my mother had and my father. They gave us the building block of we are a part of the main. No man is an island. We're all a part of the tapestry of life. So we didn't have the luxury to grow up as if we were better than or less than, because she reminded us who we were. And so I believe even now it starts with one house at a time. It is not how many parents you have, it is the quality of the parent that I believe you have. So I hope I answered your question on my show. I'm supposed to be the one asking questions.
No. I'm with you. Great answer. Great answer.
Yes.
So I'll push you on this.
Wait a minute. Is this role
Push 'em.
reversal?
Yeah.
Push 'em.
Okay.
Oh,
so,
really?
So with that being said, you don't think that kids coming up in single-family houses in our community is not one of the catalysts of why we have lost a certain level of community?
I do believe that some of that can be attributed to that. However, I will not buy into the idea that because you didn't have this, you have to be here, or you cannot have that, or you cannot be that. Because we were given the idea, it is not where you come from, it's where you're going.
All right.
And I'm not trying to give y'all zingers. But anyway, but that's where, and I got that from home. So when I went to Holt Elementary School, I better not be showing out, because my mama was going to come to that school with them Dr. Scholl shoes on from work, and if she had to get off work and come see about me acting out, oh, it was going to be hell to pay. Oh, it was going to be, and she was not coming to that school to talk about the teacher or the dog. The teacher, which we now have, more so, I would say, she was coming to say, what are you doing? Have you lost your entire mind? So it was not combative as it relates to her involvement in the different entities, but it was more to correct. And so I think what you're asking is, now I think there is some of that can be attributed to our demise in our community. But back to what Jared said, there has to be a certain pride. And I'm old enough to remember, and history, I'm a history minor in school, to know that when we could not go certain places, you remember the Green Book? You know what the Green Book is?
I don't.
Anyway, if you, the movie with Don Shirley plays the piano, remember that?
No.
You know, man. You see what he did there? What was the name of the movie? Don Shirley was riding in the back of the car, and the white guy was driving. He drove him through the South. He played, and he couldn't play. What was the name of the movie? Somebody type it on the screen and tell me what it is. But anyway, there was a Green Book that had Green Book. See, it is. See there. Okay, Green Book. The Green Book was a place. There were places where African Americans could stay safely during the South, because you couldn't go to hotels and stuff like that because of the way things were. And yet, with that in context, knowing where we've come from, there was a pride that we had to have in our communities. Our communities were impeccable. Our schools, our teachers cared. And I'm not saying they don't care now, because, you know, we had this conversation earlier.
TPS proud, baby.
All right. Yeah, you got that pen on too, don't you? Okay, all right. But we had a pride about who we were. And so many people in that day, they didn't know they were poor. Right. Because poor was not based on economic status. Poor was based on some other, you a whole lot of celebrities know, I didn't know we were poor, but based upon the economic standard, we were poor. Yeah. Not P-O-O-R, but po, okay. P-O. P-O. You got it?
Got it.
So that's the long roundabout Laura's answer to your question. I think there's culpability on both parts, but the pride, I don't believe is based on how much you make. I don't believe it's really where you live, because it's who lives there that's more important than the location. It's not the side of the track. Am I talking good? It's not the side of the track you grow up on. It's who grows up there. So,
what do you think, Jerry?
I completely agree with Bishop. My main thing is that you look at society, if kids don't have that parent telling them that, where do they get that from? Because you're not getting it from social media, you're not getting it from politicians, you're not even getting it inside the schools. How do you even get that to people? Man, that's my biggest thing.
Man, this is a softball question. I'm going to knock it right out the park. Are you ready? I am Aaron Judge right now at the plate, getting ready to hit home run number 62 right here, because you tossed me this softball. The church. Come here. If you go back, you will remember and see that there was a thread between the school and the home and the church. So it was then, I believe, the three-stranded cord that's not so easily broken, because I know some of y'all need scripture for everything. And so there it is. Because it was the church, it was the school, and the home. So what they got at home or did not get, they would get at school. And what they did not get at school or home, they would get at the church. Because remember, our churches were in neighborhoods, because most of the people walked to the church that they lived in the neighborhood of. And so this is where I believe the new church, and I use this term affectionately, coming through this that we're coming through, a new church is being birthed and being born. It does not look like the church before March 2020. We do not know yet what it's going to actually look like, because it's still being birthed. Because we still are coming through. Patterns that we used to depend on are not the same. And so one of the planks that the new church is going to have to be built upon is education. Spiritual as well as other. Community. They're going to have to be able to get everything from the church without thinking they're getting it from home or school. That's why we have to make sure that the church is a health station. The church is an education station. The church is more than where you just buck and shout and dance and woo, we had church. What is that? Don't get me started. Because here's what's happening. We having church, but does the church have us?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I know y'all church boys, y'all can go there, but I'm trying to just get to the whole community thing, because we're going to have to go back to that. And I say go back knowing that there are a few things we can afford to go back to, because if it's still there, it's probably dead. But some of the basics, the foundational principles that the African American community, I believe, was built on, we're going to have to revisit and solidify, reframe, check the foundation, and begin to build on again. Because I love your father. I did. And your father was one of the greatest men I know. And I say this, his heart was bigger than all of Toledo. There was not anybody that your father would not help. I remember when the church when the church burned. I remember that. I stopped by one Sunday to just ask, how can I help? What can we do? Simply because when that part of the community is damaged, the whole community is affected. When Pastor Roberts passed, That shifted the church landscape in Toledo in a major way. It didn't matter whether it was a Baptist church or whatever. The whole church foundation, the community was shaken. And I believe that if we're going to move forward, we're going to have to make sure that the church is more than my church is better than yours or my pastor is better than yours. That is the craziest stuff in the whole world. And I know I can't cuss on my own show. Pray for me, don't judge me. But it's important that foolishness, we do not continue to promote and give place, because our community, we know how to do church, but what happens after that?
Yep.
You dance, you sang, you preach. Boy, you killed them. Boy, they dead.
That's the only time that they work out.
That's the only time they work out, at church. And after that, they get sweaty and nasty and all that. Boy, we had church.
And they go drink beer.
But then they go to the club the same night. Come on, man. Come on. Our community is the community that needs the most from whatever dollars they're giving out. Our community needs to be on the first line. Why? Because our communities are the least served and last served. And because, could it be, we've allowed it to be so, they ain't got to do nothing different.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Come on.
Now, hold on.
Okay.
Pastor, I love that. I've been saying that. You know one thing about me, I always thought different than other people.
Really?
Because, now, hold on.
It's a doggone shame.
My thing is this. Politicians. Now, let's just say what it is. Black people are married to the Democrat Party. We love them.
Okay.
We vote that way. That's cool and all. But here's my problem. If you want change, you got to make these people work. You got to hold them accountable. Now, listen, how are we sitting up here giving loyalty to these politicians? We just vote. When people say go vote and they look at black people, you know, politicians automatically assume black people, y'all going to vote Democrat. Y'all going to vote for us. So we really don't got to do nothing for y'all, because we kind of know we got y'all. But then when you start to see what have they really done, really there's nothing going on. They haven't given us anything. They give it out to everybody at doggone else, but they don't give it to us. Now, I'm not saying just to go to the Republican Party, but one of my things that angers me is that if a black person was to say, hey, I'm a Republican, you have other black people that would jump on that person and say, hey, what is wrong with you for thinking different? Because honestly speaking, I believe that's one of the worst things you can doggone do, is give somebody loyalty that doesn't show no love to you. And my thing is, you got to make them work. If you have a product or a service and you are conducting business, you have to. One of the greatest things about capitalism is it brings out the best in everybody. You have to be willing to sit down at the table with each and every side, because you never know. And listen, at the end of the doggone day, for me, we got to have a plan for whether a Democrat or a Republican wins. Because I remember there was a point in time when Trump got in office where you had Steve Harvey, Jim Brown, and all them, Ice Cube. They met up with Trump. And you know what our people did? Why are y'all doing that? Oh, don't sit down with him. And I'm like, so what are we supposed to do? Not say nothing to the highest person, the highest office person for 4 years?
Right.
We're not supposed to go to the negotiating table. So how do you feel about politics playing a role in community?
I'm not the biggest political person in the world at all. Not that I don't vote.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, yeah.
All
Let
right,
me check the
all
box.
right. All right, because I was about to turn his mic off.
You're not American if you don't vote. Yeah, so, all right, but my whole thing is that the thing I think that somewhat turns me off more about politics or even politicians is the way that sometimes people turn politicians into gods or deities.
Yes.
I've seen so many times I've been in church, not just my church, I've been in a lot of churches, I should say that, or seen services where you have people in the congregation that get way more hype for the name Barack Obama than the name of Jesus.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And so
Oh, yeah.
it's becoming a problem to me where I think that when we start thinking that American government is God's government.
Wow.
And it's a place where, to this point of how we build and structure community, is that the word of God is not anymore used as an authority. And so what happens is that now when we don't use the word of God, now we're leaning on the word of Trump or leaning on the word of Biden or Senator, Vice President Harris or whoever else is going to be president or vice president. And so I ultimately say that because we're looking for hope in all the wrong places sometimes.
Yep.
It's only so much that a man, a woman can do.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, we have to know within our households that we're teaching, hey, listen, pastor only can take you so far. You're going to need Jesus to get to heaven.
Yep.
You know, and so I think it's sometimes in our households we're not being taught to depend on him. So vice versa, we're looking for drugs, politics, relationships or whatever, friendships or whatever, a job or whatever that thing might be to depend on. And so I think politics is just that. Sometimes it might be Apple versus Samsung, Democrat versus Republican. We find different things that we try to find comfort in that we feel give us some type of leverage or upper hand on somebody else.
So basically, politics is an alternative that we turn to
It's a religion for some.
No, exactly. No, I totally agree, because you can, if you let yourself, you can get consumed in the conversations on Twitter, Instagram, social media, just politically, and your whole day is gone, and you will probably end up responding and doing some things that are probably you probably could use your better time. Yes, sir.
Let me just. Sometimes we can be so much more concerned with CNN than SIN. We care so much more about what politicians and people saying on the news, and we don't care any about seeing. We care more about what's going on in the White House than the church house. And it's just, them is just two freestyles for you right there. Now, I ain't going to get too spicy with it. But this is a thing, though. This is a thing. And I know people that will literally watch CNN all day, all night, and will induce themselves with fear because of watching CNN, and they'll be nervous. Oh, it's a raise in the pandemic. It's another, all of this stuff. Man, you hear what Trump doing, gossiping, and it does damage to us. And then we won't read the Bible. And I'm not knocking that, but we won't read the Bible. We won't watch a sermon for as long. We don't care nothing about checking up on our people or whatever. So I can go on.
No. I'll let you jump in. No, but I agree that a lot of things become our God, lowercase G-O-D,
Straight up.
and replace capital G-O-D, and our commitment to our church, our faith, our own Bible study. I'm going to just give you an example. If you got an Apple phone, it'll tell you how much, is that an Apple phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you'll get this report, and those of you who are out there, you'll get this report about your screen time.
Yep.
It'll tell you how long you've been engaged in this, that, and the other, right?
Yep.
But I would suggest a litmus test of what your God is how much time you give Bible study, reading, prayer, the disciplines of faith, as opposed to what your screen time is.
Yep.
Because if you're giving more screen time to responding to who went off on who or who did this, and not enough face time in the book, face in the book instead of Facebook. I did that on purpose.
Yeah,
did
that
you see
was
what
nice.
I,
That was
okay,
nice.
all right. And so and I'll be honest, as a church, we do the data. We look at how many people watch and this, that, and the other. And do you know the greatest response we get out of all the data is birthdays and anniversaries. People will respond to who's having a birthday or anniversary, and yet I put a daily scripture out there every morning.
2 likes.
2 likes. Now, This is not to drive the likes up on the page.
But make sure you like it and repost and comment.
But it's an example. And I asked our media person, I said, is it my content? Because is it conversation? Or is it the presentation of it? And so I'm like, well, no, it's not this, it's not that. So what is it? And really, people like birthdays and anniversaries.
Yeah.
So it says something about us. And nobody, since there's certain things nobody can do for you that we must do for ourselves. And reading the Bible, studying the Bible, this, that, and the other. If you're hungry, I can't eat for you, right?
That's a fact.
So I can't study the word for you when you need to study. But you got time to be on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media. So again, it goes back to, and I know this was part of our last conversation, on values.
Yep.
Where you put your values. And if CNN is more important than SIN, I guarantee you SIN is winning.
Absolutely.
Because you can ease into SIN because CNN is consuming you, and you're becoming angry, you're becoming visceral, and so therefore, if Jared likes the Republican Party, we can't have a decent conversation because I'm thinking he's a sellout.
Yeah.
But it's only because my perspective I'm getting from this media outlet.
Yeah.
So it's important that, and I can't remember who it was, one of the great spiritual writers used to say that he would make sure he read the Bible before he went to the newspaper.
Practical.
Because in order to handle this news, I got to read his news.
And that's always good news.
It's all, whoop, look, go on now. Can we get some noise in the audience? I mean, is that right? It's important. It's important that we get he done preached.
Man, dude, he's so slick.
He's slick with it.
Boy, oh boy.
Anyway, all right. So it is important that I believe our community, we check ourselves, and that we don't allow ourselves to be misrepresented because I'm an allegiance to a party. And I don't believe, now I may get in trouble, I don't believe any of them are really that concerned with the African American community.
That's all facts.
I believe, yes.
What?
Absolutely.
The three of we on the same page? Lord, we're gonna need to go to a commercial break. No, but I believe one has a little more affection for us than the other.
What party is that?
Well, I ain't, based upon history, and I ain't talking about old history, because if you go way back, the Republican Party was the party where African Americans were and pledged their commitment. However, there's been a switch. I do agree with Mr. Williamson, Big Man Hawley. We have to hold them accountable, and here is where, and I ain't scared of none of y'all, we, my people, clergy, have got to stop getting paid out so that we sell out the people we're supposed to represent.
You better be careful.
Oh, no, I ain't scared of none of them.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
No. I've been here too long.
Yeah.
Understand that I don't need to be in the camp of the mayor or whatever, because my role is to speak truth to power, even when the truth hurts the power that is, because I represent the people who can't go downtown and speak truth. So I cannot be in bed with them, because I need to represent the people who don't have a voice. Yeah. So we have got to stay neutral to a point where it doesn't matter whether I vote this or that, matters that I vote, but I don't want to be wedded to any group simply because of any reason other than it's right or it is going to be the best place for the people that I serve. So if you're not talking about school safety, dude, I don't care if you're a Democrat, get out. Because the teachers and the students have got to be safe. We cannot afford to not pay attention to what has happened in Uvalde and think that it can't happen in Toledo. And I will say we had an amazing meeting with the superintendent of TPS, and there's some great things going on as it relates to the safety for students and teachers. Teachers should not have to be police and carry guns. They need to be able to teach books. So, I don't know how we got way over there. But listen, but we got another topic. We got another topic we're going to get to. But I want to, we got a good bit of time. So community and our perspective as African Americans, African American men, I think we've touched on it in a great way. Anything else you want to add on that?
I mean, you was on fire.
You really was on fire. And I don't even know what to even say right now because I'm like, hey, I'm with you, Pastor. I'm definitely with you. I mean, you pretty much you said everything I wanted to say.
I thought of another witty one.
Okay.
I haven't thought of this all the way through, so it's kind of dangerous.
Okay.
We too busy watching Fox when the word wants us to watch out for the lion that's seeking, going around seeing who he can devour. See, it tells us to be sober and to be vigilant because your adversary, but we too busy watching the Fox. We too busy watching Fox. We too busy worrying about different things that they're trying to do when ultimately, just like how we talk about there's a higher power in the sense of God's government, Satan is working his too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And so when you're so busy looking at a color or a person or a gender, knowing that Satan is pulling some strings. And when we start taking him out the equation and we start putting the people as our enemies, we're not even thinking about praying.
Yeah.
Because we're too busy thinking, you know what, this Republican, he's my opposition. No, Satan is the opposition.
Absolutely.
Right.
But this is a thing that we do that Satan works as a deceiver so that we can think that it's a Republican. We can think that it's an Apple user. So we can think that it's a redskin versus a cowboy. It's all these type of things that we do to move outside of thinking about Satan being the opposition. The more I think that we do that, the better that we will be to going back to God. But we're not going to go back to God if we think that it's a man-made solution for it. And so if it's a man-made solution, then we don't seek God's nature and his problem-solving ability.
Yeah. Would y'all make some noise for Mr. Johnson right there?
I'm here for like 30 more minutes. 30 more minutes.
Care to add anything?
I'm just to piggyback on what he said. I mean, it's definitely a thing of. I mean, we're not dealing with flesh and blood. We're dealing with spirits.
Mama.
Come on, Doc.
Literally, the culture today is that white supremacy. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't go on, but the fact of the matter is that the devil can use any and everybody. It could be your own people, it could be your own family member, it could be an opposite sex, opposite everything. He could use he can use anybody to come up against you. Because my problem is that, like he said, we're painting this thing as if it's this specific group, this person, when it's really Satan. Right. And you hit the nail on the head, man. That's it.
Give Mr. Williamson a hand, if you will. One thing that I have said, and I believe it's true, the enemy doesn't care who he uses. He just needs somebody. Yep. And I want to look at you, and I hope you're looking back at me, and I want to challenge you to be engaged in your community wherever it is. There are people, I'm sure, that are watching from around the United States and maybe even abroad. Whatever your community is needing and calling for, you need to be an agent of change in it or get out of it.
Absolutely.
Because talking about it is not going to get it done. You're going to have to roll up your sleeves and attend some school board meetings, attend some meetings of city council, attend some meetings in your community as it relates to what is going on, simply because you need to be engaged. And so I am so grateful that we have this opportunity to discuss the community. But listen, we are going to shift, and I need you to put some hand claps on that screen. If you've been encouraged, if you've been blessed thus far, come on, let's make some sanctified noise. Type some hand claps on the screen tonight. Because our community is impacted by so many different things. We've talked about a lot of them tonight. However, there is one particular issue that has gotten a lot of traction in the news, and it refers to something you were saying about everything is not black and white. Everything is not necessarily this person or that person. But there was a news story that hit the NBA recently. The Boston Celtics were at the center of it because their coach, who is an African American, has been released, or there's a term, disciplined for 1 year. He's been suspended. There it is. Suspended for 1 year for an infraction with an employee that he was supposedly above or what have you. Now, we all know Nia Long.
We do.
We know Nia Long. And so there was a groundswell of support for her. And yet, Ime Udoka?
Yep.
All right. Whew. I don't want to mess anybody's name up with a name like Talmadge Devon. But he's been suspended, and we really haven't heard a lot from him. But some of the conversation in our community has gone from one end of the gamut to the other. And so let's talk about how our community sees things even like this, that and we're still in very much, I believe, in spiritual territory, because I have heard so many comments that I believe pertain to a covenant and not just a casual or committed relationship, because I believe the coach and Neil Long have been in a relationship for like 12 years or something like that.
Partners, engaged.
Engaged. Okay. All right. So y'all know it's going to get a little spicy. All right. Okay. And I'm just trying to hold them down just a little bit. But listen, weigh in online, because can we really expect what pertains to a covenant between a man and a woman and expect those same things from and I say casual, not to make light of their relationship, but where there is no covenant, then there is an agreement between those two that don't have to be the same agreement between others. I know I'm waiting. I'm looking at y'all's faces out there tonight, and Lord, get your wife, would you? No. Anyway, so let's go. Dive in the deep end.
Well, I'm going to just start off with the men, the accountability from the men's side. I've heard some guys that kept it 100 the way that I think it should be, but I heard a lot of simpage. A lot of guys that was simps that was saying he was wrong because he got a girl like Nia Long at home. They don't know nothing about Nia Long but how she looked, and that she was in some movies and you got a crush on her. She's not, that don't mean that, I'm not saying she's not a quality woman and all this stuff. I don't know her.
Yeah, because a lot of us have
She tried to call me, but I told her I was married. I had to decline that thing. Yeah, resist the devil, and she will free. Yeah, but either
Lord Jesus.
But they were talking as if he was a nobody and she was a somebody. And I had an issue with that because of the fact of the matter, I have a bunch of different things, but I'll just say this. At the end of the day, it was a situationship. That's how we talk.
In the street.
It's a situationship. If you ain't married, you single. I don't care if you in whatever. If you ain't married, you single. You got you a friend that you talk to, but until it's a ring on it, it ain't no legal papers when y'all break up or nothing. Y'all just
sound like a song to me.
Huh?
You want to hear how I go?
Nah.
You better put a ring on it.
Oh, see. I ain't trying to pressure none of my fellas out there. But why am I saying that is because in that relationship, they still had a child.
Yeah.
And so these are things where even although they're rich, it doesn't negate the fact of the matter that this still, to me, still hurts the construct of community. Is a lot of times where men, whether it's men or the women, let me just say it like that we're too okay with being baby mamas and baby daddies. You would make a commitment to a kid before you make a commitment to the person that brings the kid in or that you get the kid from. And so that might be a little.
No.
All right, but I'm just.
No, it's shop
but
talk too.
this happens a lot of times in our communities, and we've almost got to a point where we've been desensitized to make the baby, but not the commitment to a soulmate or whatever that might be. But ultimately, too, that comes from a Christian background of why even get married. To some people, that's what they're thinking. Why would I get married? It might be cheaper just to not do it. And so maybe that might have been for Udoka and Long. Maybe that's what they did, but they brought a child into it as well. Right. And so,
and I know I'm turning you loose. I'm gonna turn you loose. But so the church, though, as relates to how she prepares men to be husbands, as well as it prepares women to be wives. Is there an inequity there? Do we spend more time? And I'm saying this because a friend of mine posted something, acquaintance of mine, posted something about if the church spent more time raising men to be husbands as much as it does raising women to be wives, then there would be better men and there would be better relationships. Now, I'm throwing this in the gumbo while I'm over the pot because I do believe that you cannot expect covenant from situationships. And we get in our feelings when it goes south. But while it's going well, nobody is thinking about when it goes awry. That somebody, as you're saying in this situation, the family structure, whatever that family structure community was, it's not that anymore.
Yeah, and so to that point, everybody wants the Christian marriage, the one husband, one wife, this and that, be faithful. Everybody wants that, even if you're not Christian. I think that's the issue with a lot of the way that people, the marriage that people want, the relationship that they want is from the Christian faith, but they don't want to be Christian. And they still want the person to be committed to the Christian faith type of walk. And so a lot of times I think that you got people that's charging stones up for good energy and talking about the universe, and they want this gumbo of religion, and they say, I want the salvation that Christianities have, I want the diet that Muslims have, I want and they picking all of these things and they're brewing it into one type of religion that they want, and it's very hard to find another person that will buy into that. And I think that's where now, the Christian faith say, wait till you get married to have sex. Not in my Bible. I want to have sex, and so you have the kid, but then you go back to whatever you go to, whatever. So I could go on and on with that. So I want to get Jared.
Talking to Mike.
Well, on that situation with Neil Long, and I ain't going to try to pronounce his name.
M.A. Udoka.
M.A. I'm just going to say M.A. My problem with the situation is this, is that at the end of the day, yes, they weren't married. That's a problem that we have inside our community, making commitments to child, but we won't make a commitment to marriage. Like they say, I always say this, whatever your taxes says is what it is. Listen, the IRS is undefeated. They have taken down many great people. Many.
Wesley Snipes.
Oh my God.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna need some context right here. I understand IRS undefeated, but we were going somewhere.
I'm just saying, like, in essence, as far as, you know, they don't care. It doesn't say situationship. It says married or single. That's it. And the thing about it is that, you know, like Mikey was saying, I mean, that commitment, we definitely got to work on that commitment. I mean, they were both in it, Neil Long and M.A. Is that how you say it? M.A.? Yes, they were both in it. So they need to share responsibility, both, for what they have done. Now, as far as him having the relationship and how all that stuff went down, one of the things that I was mad about is that there wasn't no punishment for the lady that he had the relationship with, because they said it was consensual, meaning it wasn't forced.
You're getting a lot of haterade right
Now,
now.
listen. I don't listen. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
He didn't just do this all by himself, and you know, I get it. The feminist is gonna come after me and say, you know, but listen. At the end of the day, this is doggone truth.
Right.
You want the truth, but you can't take the truth. It was consensual. Both parties should be punished equally.
So you're saying that the role that he played as I would say, in this situation, from what I understand, the superior to a subordinate, from what I understand, that is why I believe his penalty is different, because we don't know, I don't believe, what her penalty is. I do believe it definitely takes two to, yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I do not agree that he should be the only one in this situation punished. However, when you're in a position of authority, it can be said that you forced, or there was some other conversation that he had made some demeaning or comments or remarks that were demeaning to her in the situation, which implied and inferred that he used his position in order to entice or to help this situation. I wasn't there. I don't know. And I don't want to get into the gray area, but let me just say, no. It's important that we do not misuse authority or positions, because to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking about this in my context. As a pastor, there is expectation for me that there's a standard I hold myself to, that the people don't necessarily have to hold me to, but I hold myself to. All right, given that, there is a greater expectation of those that are in authority. And I know we're going to bring this around to the church community, because abuse of authority doesn't just happen in the NBA. All right. And I ain't scared.
Yes.
But it happens right here in the church community. Now, there's a whole other conversation about that. But if we're staying true to the fact that, yes, it takes two, however, a person in authority, this man has so much to lose. Not that she did not, but you want to think that when you are gone to the finals and again, I know a lot of that stuff doesn't mean anything, because they're human beings. And that's one of the things that I think is lost on people in authority, that they're still human beings. Yep. Now, I would be less than a pastor if I didn't bring this into this. We've got to make sure we give grace and place for people to make mistakes.
Yep.
And too often, I mean, the Celtics don't have to have grace. Right. As you can see, they suspended him for a whole year. Yep. But I believe that when you've been given grace, you want to give grace. So not to assuage, not to make it lighter or what have you of what happened, because I feel for Nia Long, but I also feel for their son. I feel for her older son, who has learned and to be around and to see him as a father figure. So this is his mom. And so it just totally ruptures the whole concept of their community.
I think that's well said. Let me say that. I was about to just say that was well said. But this, one of the other sides of what I want to say is this, and this kind of is still a little off, but because this is about agendas and stuff like that, but it could have very well been, because he's still responsible, he still has to be accountable, but he could have very well had not did any of those things, the demeaning thing, and it could have just been said because of the fact of the matter, he is a black man in authority, and they just, because he did something wrong, they just start throwing extra stuff in there.
Okay.
Because it's easy for us now to almost start to think that black men in these type of positions are doing stuff wrong because of what the media, gives us, advertises, I should say. And so I think that is black women and black men are not given enough representation in a positive light. So I think it's a lot easier that if we already as a people are already ready to conceive that he might have did more dirt, what is that really saying? Is that it's usually that it's easy for us to think that we do negative stuff, or that when we get a position, we'll sabotage it, and this is what he was doing, this is why they was doing. But, so I just want to say that even, it might be very false that any of the extra stuff that you just said couldn't have happened.
Yeah. But I want to say this, and we'll go to you. African-American men can handle authority.
Oh, for sure.
They can handle position, they can handle prestige, they can handle power. Jeremiah 38 is a classic example of that, because there's a eunuch in the text that if he does not go to the king and say, Jeremiah's going to die in that cistern, we need to get him out. Yep. Because there were 4 men that put him in the hole, and yet this eunuch who's got power, prestige, position, he puts it all on the line. So if we don't have any other references, which we do, we have a plethora of I believe, modern day people that have handled position and power and what have you. I mean, Samuel Jackson, Denzel, a lot of those people. And I mean, Lorenz Tate. I mean, and some of those people who have had successful or continue to have successful careers and I will say more than situationships, because with Denzel and Samuel and I think Lorenz, they have been in relationships for a long periods of time, in covenant relationships, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't ever want the idea or the thought to go out that because this happened in one situation that there's no hope for African-American men. I need the women in the room, I need the women online to help me make some noise for African-American men. Amen. Yeah. Flaws and all. Flaws and all. But the fact is, there are plenty of stellar situations that we can look to. I took fault with the organization, how they handled it, and not just them. I took umbrage with Maverick City too. I ain't scared. There was a situation with one of their singers that they put this big statement out, and it was like, okay, well, what did he do? He must have done something. And the first thing you start thinking about is there was this, without any cover, and then they'll send something else out. And so the organizations, I believe, have responsibility as to how they handle situations that are delicate. Because when it comes to our community, it's important that we don't castigate our own based upon half or misinformation. And you can't dribble out stuff and think that it's okay, and yet on the flip side, you got an owner of the Phoenix Suns who for years has been saying derogatory things about women and racist things and all of that. Now here's the problem. Oh, he gonna sell the team.
Right.
Okay, so basically, he's gonna exit fat and go and buy something else. Let me bring it a little closer. We ain't heard all that much about Brett Favre, who stole millions of dollars from the poorest state in the whole United States, and yet Jameis Winston took some crab legs as a college student, $27.12 worth.
Yeah.
And so again, it's important that we recognize that organizations, news outlets have, I believe, responsibility to get it right, or don't put it out there without supporting it with the proper facts and the proper situation. Yes, sir.
Okay. My thing is, they're not going to do that, because when they can market and when they can market to a certain group of people that makes them money, especially during ratings and stuff like that, because what you're starting to see is that they want to have a certain narrative. So, like, a few years ago, we watched it was almost like they were covering every shooting that was happening by the hands of the police, whether it was justified or not justified, because of the ratings. Because when you see us getting angry, those are ratings. My thing with his situation, you're starting to see a thing with, I hate to say it, but feminists, because we're always so quick to protect women. And that's cool. I'm not for, I'm not saying that women don't need to be protected. But my thing is,
You might want to move too, because
my thing is this.
they about to throw stuff at you.
My thing is this. There has to be some level of accountability.
That's a fact.
We have to hold everybody accountable. And it's not a thing of, like, the only way we're going to be able to grow, because you can't tell me that, listen, there are women, they have blatantly set up men, but they don't receive consequences. Blatantly. Where, child support scam, and, you got men paying for kids that they're not even theirs. But do we sit up there, we jump on those women? No. You don't even hear nothing about it. Does the news say anything about it? No.
You saying there's some deadbeat moms out here?
Yes. Absolutely. And there's some deadbeat dads. But let's not just ignore the fact that there's deadbeat moms.
Right.
But we don't jump on them like the same way we jump on men.
Yeah, we don't.
We're so quick to jump on men, but especially black men.
Oh, my God. Talk about
We are the least protected people inside this doggone. Oh, my God. You can't listen. Here's the doggone thing. What if he was set up? And let's not act like it hasn't happened.
Oh, yeah.
What if he was not set up?
Got you.
You know what?
What if he was actually set up?
You do know when you being egged on, right? Yeah, I just want you to.
Listen, I stand by what I say. I know it's true.
That's a real Republican.
Listen,
That's what they do.
what if my man was definitely set up? He definitely could have been set up.
But see, you have to be aware of stuff like that when
Yes.
you are in position like that.
Absolutely.
There always will be more collateral damage in a fall like that. And so I think that, no, you're right. But you have to know, this sounds bad.
No, say it. Come on.
He
Go
won't
off to the deep end.
No,
He won't
no.
company tonight.
Yeah. Come on, Johnson.
about a good
Yeah, stand by what you say. Say what you mean. Say it with your chest.
Do you think that some of the blame goes on Nia Long for him cheating?
Nia Long?
Yeah.
Does the blame go on Nia Long?
No. Does some of the blame go on Nia Long or why he cheated?
On why he cheated? I don't know the situation. But I would say this. With me not knowing the situation, I can't say that. Is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because
Lord,
here's the thing.
I need a prompt to the scene.
but here's the thing, because if she would have set the standard that, listen, we're not doing any of this stuff, having babies and all this stuff without us being married, he would have had a lot more to lose, and he probably would have thought about what he was doing more.
So you saying if she had a standard and she made sure that he put a ring on her finger, they wouldn't have had a baby?
Yeah.
Okay, look. Okay.
She's got, Now listen,
So
he does.
is she part of the blame then?
Be careful, young prophet.
So
No, and the reason I'm saying this is because I don't think you're going to legislate a man or a woman in the area of morality. Now, I'm married or not,
Right.
they both grown,
Yep.
and the key word in that situation is consensual. And and you're going to always have people who will be consensual. And so the standard cannot be put on someone outside of you. You have to have, Mr. M.A., knowing the position you have risen to in an organization, in a city that really does not have the best relationship as it relates to African Americans, period, with a T. You've got to know where you are, and the fact that you have come through the ranks to be in this position, at some point, some things have to speak to you that nobody else should have to tell you. Now, this is just TJ. This is just TJ.
But I'm going to push you on this.
Push me then.
Okay. Women are very powerful. I think that
Talking to Mike, because I won't.
women are very, very powerful especially, and they've shown this as far back as Adam and Eve.
Yep.
God directly tells Adam what to do and what not to do.
Oh, look at him.
All right, now check me out.
Okay.
Now check me out. You get the direct order from the
God.
source himself.
From God.
Not the resource, the
That's
source
right.
himself.
Yep.
That's right.
Who infiltrates camp and gets him to commit the golden against the golden rule.
And you do know we've debated and talked about the fact that if he had not left his wife alone so some other thing could talk to her, then
okay.
But then the whole idea about redemption, then Jesus wouldn't have had to come, and then you know.
Okay, I'm glad you fast forward. But my whole premise of this is saying that women, whether it's Adam, whether it's Solomon, whether it's David and Solomon, women have always have had the ability to make men fold a little bit on what things they know that they ain't supposed to do.
Yep.
Key word is make. And I'm going to say this.
Influence.
Okay, influence.
Influence.
Okay, influence. But wait now. Let's go back to
Samson.
Our relationship with the Imago Dei. We were made in the image of God, given the word from God, and therefore as the covering for the female, then therefore we are responsible to make sure that the influence does not come from that which we're supposed to cover, but that which we cover, we influence. So the woman can have all the power she wants. I have to make sure I got that's not my kryptonite. I got to make sure that as Superman, whatever hero you want to be, that I do not allow that to become my Achilles heel, and to the point where it causes me to lose more than I can afford to lose. Because at this point in my life, I don't care how powerful she is. I don't have 5 to 6 years to recover from making a dumb, bad decision. I can't lose my garden because I look too long. Okay? And I'm really not trying to be super spiritual, but I am saying with some maturity on each of you, you're younger than I. But I still don't believe the relationship with God is predicated on age, because y'all are strong men of God. And yet, I want to believe, and we want to believe, that in a situation, you're going to be able to stand up and not give in to that which is trying to destroy you, because there is no such thing as a neutral relationship. No, and this doesn't just work with men and women. It works with other relationships, friends.
Yeah,
there is no such thing as a neutral relationship. Either the relationship is either pulling you up to a standard or it's pulling you down.
Absolutely.
And here is what I believe: the stronger spirit will always dominate. So if her spirit is stronger, her influence, call it whatever they want to call it, then, dude, you got to know when to not wade into that, because you cannot be in the mood, lights low, music right, and all of that, and you got a weak spirit because you going down for the count, buddy. So it's important, I believe, that we do not attribute blame to Nia Long for what M.A., grown a man, should have been responsible enough to say, you know what, I'm hooked up with Nia Long. And I understand that. We don't know what kind of personality she has. Right. We know pictures and Love Jones.
Yes,
and
that's
if
right.
Love Jones, yes. But anyway, so but again, we don't go home with any of these people. And here's a larger lesson, and I know we're running out of time, that we should not believe we know these people.
That's right.
Based upon seeing them on a screen.
Absolutely.
Because we don't know M.A.
No, we don't.
We don't know Nia. We don't know I don't even know who the other lady is. Yeah. But I believe that if we're going to deal with covenant, the covenant has got to be even stronger with God than it does with a him or her. There's a ring there's a reason the ring is circular and there are no breaks in it, because it symbolizes a covenant that's not broken. And so therefore, it should be a reminder. And again, when there's no covenant, then you cannot, I believe, expect covenantal benefits from that which is casual, committed, or whatever they want to call it. Well, listen, y'all give them a hand. We have had a blast tonight. Amen. Shop Talk 2 has been phenomenal. I want to commend Brother Mike and Brother Jairus for doing an amazing job. Would y'all give them another hand, please? And those of you that are online, please forgive me. I know that there are some questions probably that you text in or what have you. And because I didn't have my apparatus, I couldn't read them right here in front of me. But please don't think we just ignored your questions or what have you. But listen, because of the nature of this and because of the success of Shop Talk 1 and 2, it's important. This was the male edition. But ladies, I would never leave you out. And I'm probably going to have to start with the whole Nia Long thing next time because of the way this went. But get ready for Shop Talk Ladies Edition. I have invited Dr. Patrice McClellan and Christina Rodriguez from Mom's House, as well as Pastor Marquisa Horton. That's her name. I don't want to make sure. Is Marquita? I think it's Marquisa Horton. Anyway, Pastor Horton is going to make up the third part of that panel. November is going to be a blast. So ladies, everywhere, look forward to Shop Talk. Now, the origin of this was barbershop and beauty shop. So ladies, you want to be ready for this. We're going to dive into some of the talk that y'all do in the beauty shop and make sure that we don't cheat you all as relates to your part of these conversations. Let me thank our live audience tonight. Make some noise for yourself. And all of our sound people, our technical people who help make this a great success. I pray that you are going to have an amazing night. Please, ma'am, please, sir, there are a lot of commercials. There are a lot of things. This is our anniversary month. October is going to be a month to remember, not September to remember because September's gone, but in October to remember. This coming Sunday at 11 o'clock, Pastor Clifford Mays and the Macedonia Baptist Church are going to be our special guests at 11 a.m. And we're excited about that. It's our birthday. It's your birthday. Yeah, we're going to party like it's our birthday.
And they love
so we're going to have, say it again?
They love birthdays.
They love birthdays, right. So listen, all y'all who love birthdays, I'm looking for you in person as our guests are going to be on campus. So I'm needing you to be on campus. Plan now. We're going to have a special observation for all cancer survivors on this coming Sunday. So please, ma'am, please, sir, mark your calendar for this coming Sunday. Tomorrow is our noonday study, and it's going to be good. So please tune into all of the discipleship opportunities that we are providing for you this month. It is, I believe, also our merchandise line. Our Cos merch shop is up. So if you will follow the information that's going to show once we close out, please, all City of Zionites, get your Cos City of Champions merchandise, because we're going to be uniformed as well as unified on the final Sunday in the month of October, and we want to be uniformed with our Cos gear. Well, I've got to go. Thank you so much for tuning in. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face to smile and shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift the light of his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. May the Lord show his face to shine and smile upon you. May he bless you in your labor and in your leisure, in your laughter and in your tears, until that day when we shall meet at the feet of Jesus, where there will be no sunrise or sunset. And all the people of God said together, amen.
Amen.
Have an amazing night. God bless you.